Welcome to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Xander Kane and Android Virus. Hey guys, welcome back to the Cemetery Gates podcast. I am Android Virus, joined by my illustrious co-host, Mr. Xander Kane. How you doing, sir?
Hello, I'm doing great. 'Tis the season. October is upon us.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. Our 31-day challenge. And also, back again, for a female perspective, we invited her on. Miss Mona, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Hanging in there.
Good. Thanks for joining us on this adventure.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't too torturous.
Oh.
No, hopefully I wasn't too torturous.
So here's the deal. I mean, we didn't do this last year, but we've done it years before. We are going to be doing one show a week for the month of October, and then we'll figure out where we're going to be after that.
Probably November off.
Yeah, because we're going to be really burnt from watching 31 horror movies in 31 days. And so that's the challenge, right? So we do 31 horror movies in 31 days, and we pick a new, adventure of the type of horror movies that we're going to do. And we got to, it's like you got to get creative with it, so to speak.
Yeah. I just have one goal for mine. Like, I was going to do all 90s movies, but that really digs deep into the catalog of things that we would potentially do for the show anyways, because there's a lot of obscure, weird 90s shit that would have been on the list, but I didn't want to do it. So the only like big theme I want to beat my previous record for movies in from other countries, which I think was 13 different countries I did like 3 years ago. So I'm going to try to get more than 13 different movies for different countries. So go a little international, trying to mix it up a bit. So
I ended up doing 31, or I am doing 31 movies from the 1970s, 31 horror movies from the 1970s that I had never seen. And so I'm basically doing 3 movies per year, except for 1976. I'm doing 4 movies, which makes up for the 31. And that's just because I was born in 1976. So just like weird superstitious shit, So yeah. So and you, Mona, what was your gimmick? What was your theme?
It was a crazy week, so I don't know. My theme is no theme, no direction, and I paid for it.
There you go.
I watched a bunch of crap.
That happens.
So just stuff you'd never seen before, probably, right?
Right.
Oh, see, there you have it.
That's good.
So,
yeah. I've gotten now to where we've done this so many times. Like I always keep a couple in my back pocket, right? Like ones that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like, or they're gonna be really good, and I'll just hold on to that until I hit that rut of like 3-4 bad movies in a row. Like, all right, I gotta insert one, or I'm never gonna get through the rest of the year or the rest of the month. But so I still have a couple in my back pocket still. I'm holding tight to those. So we'll see how long I can last before I have to insert one. Sounds like Mona could have used one this time around.
I shot a couple per way, so hopefully that'll work, right, Mona?
Yeah, I watched one.
Oh,
it was all right.
Very good, very good. All right, guys. So this is how it's going to go. I'm going to review 2 movies in this marathon episode where we're basically reviewing 24 movies. I'll try to short, maybe a couple of minutes per movie. You guys chime in, whatever. If you've seen the movie before, if you have questions, whatever the case may be, don't be shy to chime in. And hopefully this will go smooth. But we're not going to talk about what we've been watching because this is all that we've been watching.
This is literally everything.
Right. So, all right, man. I'm gonna start out, and then I'll do a review for 2 movies, and then we'll jump over to Xander, and then we'll jump over to Mona. So that's kind of how we'll do it. All right, man. So my first movie was The Werewolf versus the Vampire Women. Now. The release date was 1972 in the United States. It was made in 1970 though. That's when it was produced and that's when it was originally released, but it has a couple of release dates, 71, 72, and that's kind of par for the course for a lot of 70s movies.
Yeah, most of the time it's because they were released in another country first, or like distribution was super weird back then.
Right.
I mean, it's still weird now, but
yeah, they still do it to this day. Like, I think Lake Mungo was one, right? It had like, I think, Mona, weren't you saying like there's like 2012, 2010, 2008? Nobody really knows on that one either.
Oh, yeah. No.
So, all right. So, The Werewolf versus the Vampire Women in the UK released as Shadow of the Werewolf. And then also La Noche de Walpurgis. I don't know. There's all kinds of names. But anyways, it's starring Paul Naschy, who
dude.
Yeah, he's played the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, Count Dracula, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Fu Manchu. He's like the Spanish Lon Chaney.
He's in the Hanging Woman as well as like a secondary part. He plays basically a hunchback in that too, I think, if I remember correctly.
Well, this is his fifth in a series about the werewolf Waldemar Danczewski. So this is like part 5 of something.
Right.
And so I can kind of tell because the movie is kind of muddled. It seems like there is a lot of backstory, but like that kind of threw me off because basically, I'm gonna put it to you this way: I didn't find a good fucking copy of this. So it was a little bit of a rough watch. I had to watch it with the curtains drawn because it was such a shitty copy.
Right.
And then plus with, the American, the English translation. I mean, I didn't really know what was going on. So basically, in a nutshell, it kind of starts out with a guy. It's kind of like Operation Metal Beast, like. He's a dead werewolf. He's got the mark of the beast on his chest, and they're like, well, if we remove the silver bullets from his heart, he'll come back alive. And the doctor and this priest are like, well, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. You don't believe in those superstitions? Well, they do it, and sure as shit, it happens. He turns into a werewolf and kills both of those guys, and like a village, maybe somewhere in Western Germany or in Spain. Who knows where it's at? But there's also a backstory with a vampire chick that's buried in a local cemetery. So you have that part, and then you have this other part where these girls are wanting to go and explore the vampires' graves or the legend of the graves, and they're just kind of driving through this countryside, and essentially they come up on this village where the werewolf is living with his sister, and they're like, hey, don't go to that grave. Yes, go to that grave. Don't go to that grave. I don't know. It's so fucking muddled. It's so weird. And have you seen this, Xander?
I have not, but I do know a lot of those old Paul Naschy films were terrible as far as quality transfers. And Scream Factory's released 2 box sets of his that are all his movies, where they've cleaned a bunch of them up. I don't think this one is one in the box set, but supposedly they're making a 3rd box set, so you're really going to get
we'll see
quite a few of his movies, because there's he's got 80 something credits or something ridiculous on IMDb.
So these 2 students one's Elvira and the other one's name is Genevieve. They go searching for the tomb of this medieval mistress. We'll just pretty much just say she's Countess Bathory. But they call her Countess Wandessa. Wandessa. It's a great name. And then they find the possible gravesite of in the vicinity where Waldemar, the werewolf, lives. He invites the girls to stay for a few days. He finally leads them to the grave, and they accidentally revive the bleeding corpse because the chick gets cut. The vampire women turns one of the girls into creatures of the night, and they roam the forest night, killing people in weird slow motion kills. It's kind of cool. So basically, he turns into a wolf again, and he at the end, and he destroys the vampire women at the end of the film. But he's also killed by the woman who was supposed to lift his curse, Elvira. That's her name, because he fell in love with her after about they fell in love with each other about 24 hours, like, and she was one of the chicks that was going to stay with him, and her love would have lifted the wolf's curse from him. But actually, as a twist of fate, she loved him enough to end his torment, and he died too at the end of the movie. So you get the werewolves and the chicks who die, or the chick vampires who die. And like I said, this movie's a mess. The transfer is a mess.
Some horror romance.
Yeah, but it's so like grainy and gritty, and that in between the, like, again, like I said, the dubbed, the English dubbed, it's just it needs rough. A massive update.
Does it have all those like green flashes too in the film where it like bubbles up and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, and it's like, and then like the actual film looks like it's bending at some parts.
Weird.
Like it's weird, dude. But like, let's get into like, okay, the werewolf transformations are pretty much done like by stop motion, where like it's just slow, like frame by frame by frame. He doesn't look that cool. He just looks like a hairy fucking dog. It's not like a wolf type of man. The vampire chicks, they're like your stock vampire. It looks like they're holding toothpicks in their fucking teeth. And the women are beautiful in these movies, as they always are in the 70s. You're going to see this as an ongoing theme through these 70s movies. I'm going to be commenting a lot on how beautiful these freaking women are. Because, man. Anyways, so there's a couple of pretty cool scenes. Like, there's his sister dies in it. She's the one who chains him up at night so he doesn't kill people, and she ends up getting killed by a vampire. But doesn't get turned into a vampire. She just gets impaled on something, and then they kind of show a graveyard cut where he spikes something to her chest, and then he cuts her head off. And he's cutting the head off of a dummy, and you can't really see the face because she has a bonnet on or something tied over her head. But like, it's still effective because he's cutting the head off, and there's no cutaway, so it looks like he's cutting the head off a corpse. So that was pretty cool. So just for like, I would say like the violence and of the story alone, this movie got like a 1.5 out of 5 for me. I feel like it would have been higher if I saw a cleaner copy, but not by much. It might jump to a 2.5, but again, Werewolf versus the Vampire Women 1970, 1.5 out of 5. So there you have it. Yeah, not
the best start for you.
Not the best, but my next pick, and I think I might have texted both of you on how I was just jizzing all over this. 1970s Equinox. Actually a PG horror film, which is real, kind of rare that we do this on this movie. But it's directed by Jack Woods. There's not a lot of people in here that we would know of. And basically the film focuses on 4 teenagers who are going to go for a picnic, but also one of the guys is going to look for his professor that might be in the same area, and because their professor went missing, they haven't heard from him. So they and this sounds familiar, but they stumble upon an ancient book containing secrets of a strange world that exists alongside humans, and it unleashes a world of demons and creatures. I don't know where we've heard that one before, but so anyways, they basically are looking for this doctor, their professor. The cabin that they stumble upon was destroyed. The teenagers don't see it, but we get to see it as the viewer. It's basically destroyed by these large octopus arms that come from underneath the ground. That is some awesome stop motion clay animation. We don't see the beast, but we see the cabin destroyed in typical like Ray Harryhausen but worse fashion. And then a forest ranger kind of watches over them, and he's looking over them, and we don't know who in this movie may or may not be demons from the other dimension, because they all act a little shady. The people that stumble across these teenagers, and then they stumble across this old man who has an ancient book filled with all these magical lores and symbols, kind of like the Necronomicon from Dawn of the Dead, or I'm sorry, did I say Dawn of the Dead? From Evil Dead. And they stumble across this like giant ape creature with green skin and like fur and everything. He's so fucking cool looking, and he wants the book, and it's just this stop motion animation stuff. And he eventually gets the book, goes back to the other side, and what they found, kind of like when you get towards the tail end of the movie, it's kind of a cat and mouse chase between these teenagers and these weird little creatures that are appearing, these demons and giant beasts and funny looking things. You get, I swear to God, it's just straight taken out of Evil Dead. Like, the doctor's talking about incantations from an ancient book, and he opened up a pathway or doorway to another dimension for evil spirits to come in. I'm like, I'm watching the fucking Evil Dead. That's basically what I'm watching. But they eventually at the end find there's a really cool like winged demon that appears that they have to destroy, and these things don't like silver crosses. People get picked off one by one, and I don't want to give too much about this movie, but they get picked off one by one, and there you have it. And kind of like at the beginning of the movie is all the stuff that happens. The guy's basically telling, the lone survivor is basically telling the story of what happened. He's in a mental hospital, and he's like, I'm going to die 1 year from now. And like at the end of the movie, you see like one of the chicks walking up to the mental hospital to talk to him, who quote unquote may or may not have died. So I will say for this movie, guys, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but for me, I mean, this is I loved this movie, and I don't know if it's because I watched it at 6:30 in the morning as soon as I woke up. I don't know if it was the mood that I was in, but I gave this movie a solid 4 out of 5. It's up there for me, man. It's a really fun creature feature that deals with some weird esoteric demon type of stuff, and the effects for 1970, although really bad, although really cool too, for what they had to work with. So I can't recommend this one enough, guys. Equinox. You can find it on YouTube. Yeah, so there you have it.
I watched Straw Dogs instead.
Oh, there you go. Well, maybe we could talk about that. Yeah, we'll get with Dave on the next, then we'll talk about Straw Dogs together, possibly.
Okay.
Ooh.
Cool. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So the first one that I did was a movie I've been eyeing for a little while, just because it has such a badass poster. And it's called Blood Vessel. And it is, let me see. Man, you think I'd be ready by now, right? It's directed by Justin Dix, who I've never heard of before, but he's a special effects guy, producer. He does makeup on some stuff before. He's done quite a few things. He's actually done some special effects for Star Wars, in Episode 2 and Episode 1, which is shocking to find out. But you can kind of tell because there's actually some money put behind this movie. But the plot is somewhere in North Atlantic, near like World War II times. There's like a life raft floating around in the water with some survivors, and they were all on like a hospital ship or something. So they're all like kind of a random ragtag group of people, a little injured. One guy's a cook, another guy's a soldier, and then like there's a nurse. But they're just like basically floating around in the water at the beginning of the film, just waiting to die because there's nothing around, you know. And they eventually see a giant ship come their way, and so they all get excited, obviously, because they haven't seen anybody in quite some time. And they slowly realize it's a Nazi ship. And like, well, fuck. So there's like a whole debate whether they like,
dun dun dun.
like, well, do we get on the Nazi ship? They're like, well, what the fuck else are we gonna do? Like, we're dead here. You know, if we get on that ship, we're potentially dead because you know, they're all of different ethnicities and like backgrounds. So like, in no way would the Nazis want anything to do with most of these people on this Riot Raft. So it's pretty much like, you know, you're in a dire position to either die in the ocean or hop on the boat full of Nazis. So they eventually figure out a way to get up on the boat, and as they kind of walk around, they realize that the entire boat is abandoned. There's no one there. And so they slowly just trying to put things together, and they slowly start finding the crew members, and they all have like left in different states of death on how they got, like some got decapitated, some are like burned and decayed. Like they just keep finding dead bodies, and then they find a little girl that's alive, and of course, you know, they befriend her and whatnot. And then they eventually stumble across this giant, beautiful coffin, and it's like got these hand-carved skulls on it, all in and out. It's actually a really fucking cool coffin. But, you know, of course somebody's got to open the fucking thing like an idiot, right? And they unleash these, like, ancient vampires, and they're fucking badass vampires, dude. Think, like, they got, like, a lot of Nosferatu vibes with, like, the long fingernails. But then they have these giant bat heads, like, not quite as big as the devil in Legend with Tim Curry, but, like, very big and pronounced. Like, ears. It just looked cool as fuck, and it's brutal as fuck when they decide to start like killing people, and the people get like ripped in half. It's just really, really well done, man. There's a ton of money in this movie. It's just a cool ass fucking vampire flick. It's just a little bit different, you know. It's not really what I expected. I don't know. I thought it was just going to be like vampires running around, you know, picking people off, kind of a cat and mouse game, but it really doesn't. There's really kind of more to it than that. But it's tons of blood. It's a little bit. The only complaint I really have on the movie is the fact that sometimes the dialogue is a little hard to hear, and I think that may be like the director's choice, like to show, like, I don't, because they're like out in the raft and out on the boat outside, like you can barely hear them sometimes. So the volume's a little weird, but I think that may have just been the director's like creative choice for whatever reasons. But yeah, this movie is available on Amazon Prime. I don't want to give a ton of it away because it is so new, but it is definitely worth checking out. You know, it's a cool, like, World War II, you know, everybody wants to do zombies, right? They want to do Nazi zombies, you know, but these guys went with vampires, and it was super fucking cool. Some of the characters are likable, and some of them are you hate, which is the whole point of it. But it's a solid 3.5 out of 5 for me for Blood Vessel. It's really, really cool. And like, just watch the trailer and see the poster, and you'll be like, oh, this looks cool as shit.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures, and it looks pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they had plenty of money to make this thing. It looks like, I mean, it's on the ship, like it's good. Like, I wish it was a little more. I wish the payoff came a little sooner, but I still think you get a pretty good payoff. So, but it was rad as fuck.
Yeah, looks cool as shit.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, what'd you give it?
3.5 out of 5.
Perfect.
So pretty solid in my book. And then up next is 2017's The Lodgers, which I believe is an Irish film directed by Brian O'Malley, who's directed Let Us Pray. That's the only other film that I've seen that he has done. But this is a fucking weird one, man. But I kind of like it. I like the weird shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's supposed to take place like in the 20s, and it's this like rural town in Ireland, and there's this beautiful mansion kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty dilapidated, and there's just two twins living there, a guy and a girl, and they're just constantly like, as being in the movie, they're trying to get inside before midnight, and then like there's a really great scene at the beginning where the sister comes like running back into the house, and the brother's like screaming for her, and he shut the door, and they shut the doors in their bedrooms, and like, oh no, we're safe, you know, kind of. It feels like the floor is lava moment, right? Like, oh, I gotta get inside to be safe. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then you see like this what appears to be like a cellar door at the bottom of the steps, and water starts coming through it, and you're like, what the hell? And then water starts dripping from that to the ceiling, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then, you know, the movie, as the movie goes on, you start seeing these like ghosts of people that are getting closer and closer to these two twins, the brother and sister twins. And as the story kind of unfolds, you figure out that like basically the house is cursed by them, by their family, and so it's like everybody that's lived there dies. They all drown in the lake somehow. Like, it's just unavoidable. So the whole movie is them trying to avoid being drowned for their curse, and their curse is that they like to incest with one another. So yeah, so that's like their punishment. So like they fall in love with their siblings, and it's just like,
wait, who did the twins fall in love with each other?
So the twin and the new, so their parents died that way, and then their grandparents died that way, right? And so the daughter is like trying to get out of it, and the son is still into it. So there's like weird moments where he's like trying to kiss her and like grabs her thigh, and she's like, no, I'm gonna get out of here. But then there's like this weird torn thing with her where she's like, he's my brother, I gotta try to save him, right? Even though he's trying to like touch you in your naughty places. Like, what? Like, so it just, like, it does a good, like, the castle is gorgeous, the setting is great, the people that acted it are great, the music is great, everything is just done so well, and they do a really good job of just kind of making you squirm from time to time, because you're like, nah, like, because it's not like, you know, because it's fucking incest, and you're like, eh. But it's a great, got a great few spooky moments. I love the use of water and how they did the effects. And there's a few like cool flash forward scenes where they're like in the house, but they're somehow the house is filled with water and they're kind of floating around inside the house. Just a lot of really cool shots. And I really enjoyed it. I thought I appreciated the weirdness of it, because you don't, you know, a lot of people will shy away from such topics, but they just went right on in it. And it's funny because you watch it and you're like, is he? Nah, like, that's not it. And then as the story unfolds, you're like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, The Lodgers, for me, 3.5 out of 5. I think it's solid. It's got great spooky moments. Just heads up on the incest, but they don't actually show anything. It's all insinuated, so it's
implied incest.
It's implied. Nothing happens between the brother and sister, but like they,
not unlike Pornhub.
yeah, not that. But yeah, I would say check it out. It's on Amazon Prime streaming right now, so
there you go.
I'd say check it out if you like that gothic Irish horror story. It's good.
There you have it, man. All right. So Mona, your two films. Maybe save Straw Dogs for the second, and we can touch on that together.
I don't even know where to start. Like I said, a bunch of crap.
Pick your first one.
Pick your first pilot. Pick your first turd.
I watched a movie called Spring. And it was 2014. Directed by Justin Benson. I never heard of any of his stuff, but it sounded interesting because the description was horror romance.
Yeah.
I guess. I never watched anything like that, but no, it was not. It was like a romantic sci-fi horror movie for scientists. I don't know.
So not so much horror, more sci-fi-y?
It was kind of like both, like all of it. I don't know.
I remember seeing the poster for that. It's got like a girl's hair on it. It's like orange and blue, I think. I think it was on Netflix at some point.
It's called Spring?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. All right. So, anyways, so
this guy, he flees to Italy after getting into a bar fight, meets a girl there, decides to stay a while. She has a secret, you don't know what it is. The guy finds a syringe in her bathroom, thinks she's on drugs. She tells him she has some kind of condition, medical condition. And then
don't we all?
Starts with her, looking like some sort of creature. It was a little fun trying to guess or figure out what she was. Or like, oh, is she a werewolf? Is she a zombie? Is she a zombie vampire? What is she?
Is she a Wendigo?
I don't know. And then when we find out, it's pretty boring and confusing.
oh,
so the payoff is not there.
No, it's like all these, I don't know, confusing scientific medical terms. She's like a 2,000-year-old mutant who every 20 years gets pregnant so she can give birth to her new self.
Oh.
And then she changes to a newer creature, and the only way to stop it is if she falls in love.
Oh.
It was horrible. I hated it.
How sweet.
It was horrible and you hated it, you said?
Yes.
So, was it just because it was boring, or is it just not gory?
Probably just because it was boring. It wasn't really gory. Well, there's some parts, like, it just show her, like, half change into these different creatures. Like, one, she's, like, some half octopus, half person. And she kills one person, I guess, but it doesn't really show it. So,
Weak.
Stuff like that.
Classic cutaway.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a big tease.
Yes.
Isn't that what's the plot in Species? Is that, I can't remember. Does she get captured? Or does she come down to mate with Natasha Henstridge?
I think it was alien DNA, and then I forget. And
it's been so long. I know.
Yeah.
I know she eventually has to mate, but I couldn't remember if that was like her it's been ages. Guess I'll revisit that one.
I just remember boobs and killing, lots of
so
blood.
if nothing else, at least spring.
At
least. Oh, you're good. At least spring makes me want to revisit Species, so I guess that's a good thing that came out of it. So
there you go. So what did you give this one, Mona?
I give it a 1.
One out of 5. Weak as shit.
Yes.
All right, cool. How about we review Straw Dogs together next?
Okay.
We could do that, and then so that'll be your 2, and then I'll jump into my other one, and then Dave could do 2, or Xander could do 2 more. So, all right, cool. So, yeah, man. So I chose, and I actually sent this to Mona. I was just kind of giving her some ideas, but I, again, doing movies from the 70s. I had decided to pick. I know of this film, Straw Dogs, 1971. It wasn't a horror list, but it comes off more as a drama thriller. It rakes in at about 2 hours, this film. And it's directed by the legendary Sam Peckinpah, who is behind like The Wild Bunch, The Cross of Iron, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, like so many. This guy's
Convoy.
Convoy, yeah, there you go. all kinds of movies. So his chops are huge, and obviously this is a 1971 movie with Dustin Hoffman, and essentially it pretty much starts out as Dustin Hoffman is like an American professor in mathematics, and he has a beautiful. Are they married? Were they married, Mona?
Yeah, they're married.
Okay, so he goes with his wife to the English countryside in a small town, not unlike maybe a small redneck town you would see in the United States. and he has a grant to work on some, I don't know, shit there having to do with mathematics, and he's got
It
his.
was like where she grew up. It's like her father's cottage or something.
Yeah, she grew up there, and they were redoing or revamping her father's cottage, but he was also there to study and do whatever he had to do to write a book. I don't know. He worked for a college, and then we kind of start off right away like it's like almost like what we would consider like I said, an English village would be kind of the equivalent of a one street drag in a backwards American town. I don't say backwards, but like an old American town.
It's South Georgia. It's fine. You can say it.
It's South Georgia. Northern New Mexico, maybe? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah, we have all those. Yeah. And so it kind of starts off with his wife she's walking through the town with this other chick, and they're all kind of shopping for goods, and she's not wearing a bra, wearing a pretty tight fitting sweater, turning heads. So she knows what she's up to. So it already kind of starts off with the fact that, I don't know, would she say she's kind of how would you explain it? Kind of like a tease? I don't know. She kind of like to flirty. Yeah, flirty. So anyways, they hire these guys. One of the guys kind of has a backstory with her. They may or may not have been a couple back in the day before she moved into the States, to fix the garage or the roof of the garage. And they're just a bunch of weird dudes. They're just kind of jockey dicks, and Dustin Hoffman's not very manly in it, I guess you could say. He's just kind of a college guy. He's like a college professor guy. And they don't really get along as it is, her and him. He's just kind of really into his work, and she kind of bugs him a little bit. She wants to play and have fun, and they're just not really on the same level. And to kind of, as a fuck you to him, she flashes her tits to one of the dudes that's working on the roof. And he gets the idea that she wants him, which she kind of does, don't you think?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
I don't. It was weird. Like, I don't, because anyways, they get separated, and there's a pretty rough rape scene in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very odd, because I watched it with my wife, and she's like, well, because there was two guys involved, but the first guy was really forceful to her, but then it kind of seemed like she liked it, but then it seemed like she didn't, but then it seemed like she did, but then it didn't seem like she didn't, but then the second guy got involved and definitely did not like that. So that was kind of a rough rape scene in that. And then she's all fucked up from it. And then there's a backstory of a weird dude that kind of lives in the town who may or may not have hurt girls as well. And there's just a bunch of weird dudes that are kind of go to the bar, that are kind of the town bullies, that are involved with the guys that are doing the roof. And Dustin Hoffman finally has it. He says, you guys are fired, because they're kind of punking him, wouldn't you say, Mona?
Yeah, and singing songs about fucking sheep in the bar. I remember that.
And they like kill their cap. They don't really like.
Oh, the kitty. They find it hanging in the closet.
Yeah, but they don't. Dustin Hoffman's like not man enough to say anything, and that pisses her off. She's like, "You're fucking supposed to protect me," and he just doesn't. So it kind of culminates at the end without giving too much, but the ending is very intense. Like the last, what would you say, 20, 30 minutes possibly?
Yeah.
I mean, super intense Sam Peckinpah like type of violence and action and camera shots and acting and inventive deaths, because these guys are just trying to break into their house to get at somebody who accidentally may have killed somebody in the village. It's kind of convoluted. But it's definitely worth the wait for me. It takes a good 45 minutes for this film to pick up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good though.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say? I mean, Sam Peckinpah, I would say, is like really good at character development. So,
it's a pretty highly regarded movie, honestly. Like a lot of people really like Straw Dogs, and I think I don't know if it has a Criterion release or not.
It does.
Okay, as we say, I think it does. So I mean, if it's got a Criterion release, it's in the cinema world. That's a pretty good notch on the belt as far as content.
I don't want to give away, but there's a lot of death, definitely at the end. Shit's redeemed, but it also kind of leaves it loose between certain characters in the movie as well, which is fine. I don't mind that ambiguity. Sam Peckinpah is a smart director and a writer, so he knew what he was doing regarding that. I found it a little slow to begin with. It took a little bit for me to get into it. It is listed as a horror thriller drama, which definitely does live up to that name. Clocks in just about 2 hours, but definitely worth the watch if you're a cinephile. Even if you're horror or whatever, it's really worth it. The rape scene's a little rough in it, but for me, man, this was a good solid 4 out of 5 on that list. So, what about for you, Mona?
I'm gonna give it a 3. Liked it, like, in between. And I don't know, I really like the end. I like how Dustin Hoffman's character just fed up with everyone, even his wife. So.
Yeah, he kind of goes like falling down, Michael Douglas style.
Yeah,
really.
But he's like all calm about it, and yeah.
Yeah, like he loses his shit, but he's calm about it too. Like,
yeah.
He smacks her around a little bit, deservedly so. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. No, he did. I got kind of mad at that too, but I was like, she was hysterical. She needed it. She wasn't helping him till he slapped her.
So what are you doing? Smack. Go ahead.
This is like when Prince slaps Apollonia in Purple Rain when she gets all freaked out. Calm down. Backhands her. What the hell?
Yeah, calm down. Slap. Get your senses about you. So, yeah. So, anyways, man, Straw Dogs. So you gave it a 3 out of 5. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Not bad. It's just a slow build, man. A lot of character development for 45 minutes, but about 45 minutes. Like literally, when they find the hanging cat, is 45 minutes, and then it all goes downhill from there. So, I clocked that. So, all right, guys. So that was 1971 Straw Dogs. I'll go into my second movie. And
Third
I'm going to
movie.
go. No. Straw Dogs was my third.
Oh, that's right.
Me and Mona did the tandem on this one.
Then
man.
your fourth movie is
my fourth movie.
There you go.
But I am rewinding it a year, and I'm going to 1970s Beast of Blood. Right. So, Beast of Blood from 1970. It's basically what I found out after watching this, which I didn't know, was a sequel to the Mad Doctor of Blood Island. So I didn't get to see the Mad. So I saw the sequel before I saw the original, which is fine. But it's directed by Eddie Romero, who I have been finding out because I have a few more movies on my list. This is a Filipino horror film, and I didn't know in the late 60s and early 70s that the Filipino horror genre was huge.
Yes, it was.
Jesus Christ. I mean, just doing my research with everything on this. So basically the plot picks up where the Mad Doctor of Blood Island leaves off. So basically the Mad Doctor of Blood Island is basically a doctor doing experiments, and there's a creature that escaped on the boat with the people who escaped Blood Island by going by the chlorophyll creature. And he's pretty much like, just looks like this, his face is burnt off, and you could kind of see his skull, and he's just a huge lurking guy, and he's smart, and he can cut people up and different things like that. So the movie starts off of them like of them on a boat, and then them getting attacked by the chlorophyll creature, cutting everybody up, and there's some pretty good gore in it, man. I'd have to say, he's cutting everybody up with a machete, and there's like one survivor of the boat, and he's a doctor. and you kind of fast forward a year later. His name's Dr. Foster. He meets up with this chick who kind of wants his story, and for some odd reason, they decide to go back to Blood Island, and it looks like you have some reoccurring cast members. There's an abandoned where the doctor was doing his experiments, his abandoned mansion, and they kind of go back to discover it, but it looks like it's kind of been rigged up just to scare people. So somebody's trying to keep people away from there. Then there's like another army that steals the chick who's trying to get the story on the doctor. They have to go rescue her. They finally go and find that the doctor who made the chlorophyll creature is still alive, and he has the chlorophyll creature still, but his head is taken off and his body's on the table, but it's alive, and the doctor's keeping him alive. And kind of chaos ensues. The chlorophyll creature wakes up without a head and wreaks a little chaos, which is kind of hence like the cover of the movie. It shows the creature carrying his own head. And throughout this movie, they're using a lot of the Filipino army, a lot of Filipino villagers, hence a lot of Eddie Romero movies from what I'm finding that they do in the Philippines. It's just a jungle movie. This movie kind of played off more in my mind like an Indiana Jones like adventure type of movie. Like there wasn't a lot of, there was some death in it and there was some cool stuff. I found myself a little bit bored in it. To be honest with you, I'm not going to give too much away about it, but you guys should definitely check it out. It was okay. It didn't do a whole lot for me. I wasn't completely blown away. It's kind of one of those things that I just wanted to put on my notch. So Beast of Blood gave me a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, there's a lot of films being made in the Philippines in that time period, and there's some horror ones and some more exploitation like women in cages, women in prison films from there. But yeah, it's so fucking wild because the Filipino military was all gung ho about using their tanks and driving around through and shooting their guns and shit. They're shooting live ammunition sometimes in some of those movies.
Yeah,
it's the stories are fucking wild. Sid Haig was in a bunch of Filipino films, and they would go and film a couple at a time, and it was just the whole history of that era is just fascinating to me, and also borderline terrifying. The guy was like, "Fuck yeah, let's drive the tanks and shoot around. So what if we kill an extra? Fuck it."
Yeah, I think the labor laws, a lot of things must have been real loose back then. Now, going back to Beast of Blood, I'm gonna have to check out the first one, but it's okay. Again, 2 out of 5. It is what it is. It's just a schlocky creature film that you'd probably see on some early episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, or that would fit perfectly on one of those. So again, a solid 2 out of 5 for me, man.
Yeah. If you keep barking up that tree, you'll hit some gems. So.
All right. Well, I do have.
So don't feel too defeated.
Yeah. All right, man. So hit me up with your next 2, bro.
Oh man. All right. This next one's gonna be really short because it wasn't very good. So it's called The Selling. It's from 2011. It's directed by Emily Liu, which I'm not familiar with anything she's in. It has a couple notable comedian names in it. Janet Varney's in it, and Barry Bostwick's in it for a hot minute. Simon Helberg from Big Bang Theory's in it. So there's just a bunch of comedy actors in it, and I watched the trailer. I was like, "Oh, this actually seems kind of funny, right? Silly." So it's all about a real estate agent who, long story short, he gets a hold of a haunted house, gets sold to him for him to flip with his partner, who helps him flip homes or whatever. And the story is a guy that lived there was a mass murderer and killed 12 people. But there's no proof that he killed them in the house, so the agent doesn't have to disclose who the owner was, since no one died on the property, right? Because like if he killed somebody in the house, then you have to disclose that legally. But since there was no proof of anybody dying in the house, he didn't have to disclose that information. And it's just all these silly little antics happening with the ghosts, like telling them to get out of the house and like opening up doors and like vast portals to like the underworld open up. And you know, it starts off where it is genuinely funny for like the first 20 minutes, like, oh, this is gonna be good, and then it just like dive bombs after that. Like they just keep trying to get sillier and sillier, and it just doesn't work. You're like, all right, this is just flat out stupid now. So it started off really promising and then just took a nosedive pretty hard to the bottom. But there's just not much to it. It's just, you know, I feel like they tried to make too many gags, too many jokes, rehash a couple of the same, you know, zingers from previously on. They try to rehash the same joke again, and it just didn't work. So that was the selling, and it's from 2 out of 5 for me. Which is higher than I thought I would rate it. But I do think it's enjoyable for the first part. But man, it's pretty passable. So that it's not fun at all. However, my next film... Hold on one second. Let me get a sip of water real quick.
Oh, he's got to get water. Do you have water prepared, Mona?
I do. Maybe I should drink
all right.
some.
I don't. I just texted my wife and said, "Can you bring me a bottle of water, please?"
All right. So this next one is my favorite one that I watched on this first week, hands down. It's a flick on. It's actually on Shudder right now, called Ghost Killers vs. Bloody Mary. And it is about a bunch of YouTubers that are like paranormal investigators, and they're basically kind of hacks, for lack of a better term. They're just not really popular, and that's all they want is to be like successful YouTubers, and they basically stay behind one of the guys' dad's butcher shop. Like they're just behind the butcher shop, so there's always like, you know, bloody bits around front, and the dad's always yelling at him to get the fuck out of there and pay him rent, you know, just being an asshole to him. But they get a job at this school that's haunted, and you're very welcome. So they get a job at a school that they think is haunted, and it's by Bloody Mary and another. I can't remember there's another. It's like the Cotton Girl or something like that. There's 2 different things that they're in there fighting. But it's just them finally getting their opportunity to get this big case. But this particular one is batshit crazy. Like when they do run into the ghost that's haunting it, like it is so over the top bloody and gory. And like there's possessions that happen. People's heads explode. They possess a small baby that jumps up, that still has an umbilical cord wrapped around it, and it pisses blood on the dude's face, and then like attacks it and dances around on the counter. Like there's just crazy. So there's crazy puppetry with like a dead baby, and God, it's just wild. Then like the little girl like tears her face off when they come in. You know, when they come in, when they finally find her in a hallway, and you know it's just them going through what paranormal investigators do. You know, they're trying to. Eventually they get scared and they keep trying to get out as they die off one by one. It's just like all these super gory scenes, but it's blended so well with comedy. Like it's genuinely funny. The characters are, the casting's really good on the YouTuber guys. They really kind of fit what the story needs them to do as character-wise. But man, it was so bloody, so funny, and just from beginning to end was just great. And there's even like some bonus stuff after the credits too, after you watch it. But like honestly, I haven't had this much fun watching the movie be so silly and gory and funny in like a long time. Like it was a very pleasant surprise, and it's been sitting on Shudder for a while, and I just had to watch it. I was like, why the fuck did anybody tell me about this movie? So shame on y'all for not telling me about Ghost Killers vs. Bloody Mary. And for me, it's going to get the highest rating of the day at 4.5 out of 5.
Ooh.
Because I mean, I honestly, there was nothing I didn't like about it. I couldn't call it a perfect movie, but it like checked all the boxes I wanted it to check. It's funny. It was gory. The practical effects were great. Everything. It didn't feel long at all. Even though it's like an hour and 50 minutes, it didn't feel like that. It felt like it was 35 minutes long, because it's just, once it gets in and gets to the school, and after the first 10, 15 minutes, you're in the school and you're already going. You're off and running. And it's got all sorts of cool little characters in it. Like the principal of the school, doesn't fucking believe him, the whole time he's in there. He's like, there's blood all over the floor, and he just thinks these YouTubers are fucking with him, and they placed it all there. So you're just kind of laughing at him being an asshole of these YouTubers. But man, check it out on Shudder. And It's not, I should preface, it's not found footage, even though these guys are YouTubers. It shows a couple scenes from their YouTube show, with kind of shaky cam stuff, but 90% of the movie is a normally shot movie. So if you don't like found footage movies, this is not really a found footage movie at all. So,
all right, I'll check it out, dude. All right,
yeah.
Cool. All right, Mona, you're next too.
Oh no, more crap.
Yeah.
They're gonna be short because they're awful.
That's what happens when they're really bad. You're like, yeah, skip it. I had one, I think 2 years ago, I had one. I was like, I can't remember the actor who it was. I was like, and, Rock Hudson was an asshole. That's it. That's the movie review. That's it.
Okay. Oh, Z. I watched Z.
Is that the one on Shudder?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was directed by Brandon Christensen. I was not familiar with any of the other movies he directed, but I guess he produced It Stains the Sands Red. It's a zombie apocalypse movie that I really like. I don't know, it's about this little boy's imaginary friend that, I don't know, haunts the family. And, I don't know. It had some scary jump scares. It shows the creepy little entity that is the kid's imaginary friend. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this movie. It was awful.
Yeah, I do know a lot of people do not like this movie. I've heard other people talk about Z, and they're like, no. It just turns into a long litany of things, what's wrong with it, or how boring it was, or...
It reminded me of The Babadook, and I do not like that movie either. So
that damn kid in The Babadook. Ugh.
He's horrible.
I've never seen that, actually.
The Babadook?
Never. No.
Yeah, I like some of it.
One day I'll get around to seeing it, I'm sure, but I've never seen it. All right, so you didn't like it.
So 5 out of 5, right? Just another one. Averaging ones here.
Wow. Okay. So Z got a 1 from you. Nice. All right. Okay. So what about your next one?
Let's see. The Color of Space I watched, and we talked about that because it was directed by Richard Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did Hardware.
Yeah.
I didn't like this movie either. It was another boring one, and I thought it would be. It thought it might be badass, like Mandy, because it had Nicolas Cage in it.
Yeah.
And colors.
No, I actually like this movie a lot. So, the Color Out of Space. It's very. I could totally see though how some people are just not into it. It's slow and weird, and it's very. I don't know. It's just Lovecraftian at its best, in my opinion, which can be boring and slow and kind of abstract, I guess, too, at a certain point, because you're really just relying on the colors in the movie, because you don't really get that. And coming off Mandy into this, I think everybody was hoping it was going to be, kind of batshit crazy, because Cage was in full force.
Yeah, in Mandy he was for sure. So, what didn't you like about The Color of Space?
I don't know. It just wasn't very interesting to me. It was long and boring, and The only cool part, I guess, was the mom and son, like, I don't know, absorb each other.
Right.
So,
Like melt into one another.
mhm.
Cool. So what would you give it?
Um, maybe a little higher, maybe a 2, because I kept watching it.
Because you just wanted something to happen. I feel ya. Right on. Okay, cool. Okay, so next on my 70s list, 1971's Blood and Lace.
At the Bava? And that's Blood and Black Lace.
Yeah, no, this is Blood and Lace. This is a Philip S. Gilbert film. And it's kind of got a pretty good cast. I mean, if you're like a 70s weird guy, I don't know, it's got like Melody Patterson stars in it, and you know, she's from the F Troop, and I think she was like maybe some stuff in Green Acres, I don't know, but it's got like Vic Tayback and Len Tesser, if you're familiar with the Seinfeld TV show. Uncle, what was the uncle who drew the eyebrows on the Seinfeld show? Uncle Leo.
Uncle Leo. Yeah.
A young Uncle Leo's in it, and a very young Dennis Christopher, who is in one of our favorite movies, Fade to Black. So basically, the movie starts out with, again, I'm gonna call it out, man. A very Halloween-esque opening with a POV shot, with somebody kind of walking around with a hammer instead of a knife, but getting the hammer out of the kitchen drawer. Very Halloweenish, even from the beginning of like the outside of the house. So it kind of like, I was like, oh, that's where John Carpenter got it. I saw it. And if you're a horror person, and if you didn't see it, then I don't know what to tell you. But so basically, a couple of people get bludgeoned, and they don't do any takeaways with the hammer. I mean, they're good, slick takeaways, right? So like, you see the hammer come down, and then you see the hammer hit the face, and then you see the hammer come back up. So some really slick editing there. The blood's not that great looking, you know. It's kind of orangish crayon, looks like melted crayons, you know. But they're, you know, so basically this lady gets killed with her man in their bed, and then you have a girl who has to go into an orphanage even though she's 20 years old, because apparently in this movie, the town that they live in, you're an orphan until you're 21.
Fair, sounds right.
You're a ward of the state until you're 21. And she tries to run away before they put her in the orphanage, and a cop gets with her and says, hey, you know, let's take care of this. And what they find out is her mom's like the town whore, or a prostitute, however you want to put it. But they go into the orphanage, and dun dun dun, like the orphanage is ran by like a crazy lady and Uncle, what would we say, Uncle, whatever his name was, Uncle Leo. And like, they're basically collecting money from the state for running this orphanage. But what they're finding is that some of the kids have ran away, but not really. They're just frozen in the downstairs cooler. And what we find out is the lady who's running the orphanage is pretty nuts, and she's just kind of collecting money from the state. And then her Uncle Leo's the handyman, and he's kind of her like henchman helping her out. And this girl is staying there as well, and she kind of eventually finds out. Everybody kind of eventually finds out. They all try to run away, and then they get caught. And the cop who put her there, the little girl, or not even the little girl, the 20-year-old chick whose mom got killed at the beginning of the movie, we find out has kind of been running around the orphanage dressed up as Freddy Krueger, but like before Freddy Krueger, the weird mask on and like a weird looking sweater. and he's just trying to figure out who killed. I can't even fucking explain to you. It's so weird and convoluted, but I don't want to give too much away because it is kind of a whodunit. It is that weird Scream-esque ending. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this person killed the mom. You know what I mean? It's really weird. There's a whole ton of subplots going on it, but Blood and Lace. For as much as I say it's convoluted and the weird things going on in it, it did get a solid 3 out of 5 for me because it's just so out there and weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen Blood and Black Lace.
This is American.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. I think I'm confusing Black Candles with that. But
yeah, have you seen this, Mona?
No, I have not.
Yeah, check it out. It's on Amazon. It's pretty fun, but it's fucking weird. And there's some really good blood in here. There's a lot of dismemberment and cool stuff and stabbings and whatnot. So check it out. Blood and Lace, 3.5 out of 5. This next one is going to be really quick. Another Eddie Romero movie, Beast of the Yellow Night. So basically, 1971, another Eddie Romero Filipino horror film starring the same doctor who played in the other one I just reviewed, Beast of Blood. Different character in this one though. He and then also the guy who played the evil doctor in Beast of Blood plays the detective in this one, who is Eddie Romero, by the way. So he casts himself in his own movies. Basically, the Beast of Blood is about a guy. He's like an American troop in a Southeast Asian country, undisclosed, which they'll kind of make you seem like it's Vietnam, but it's actually the Philippines. And he gets lost from his I guess his, I don't know, battalion, and he's gonna die. He makes a deal with the devil to help him live. And the devil's like, yeah, you can live. And the devil's played by that big fat gay dude from the Big Bird Box.
Nathan Lane?
No, the Big Bird Box, the other Filipino movie with Sid Haig's in it.
Talking about the big. I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
like that fat gay, like he's like, you can't tempt me, lady. I don't even swing that way. And he's like that big old fat Filipino guy. So anyways, I just remember that line from that movie. But anyways, essentially, unlike a werewolf, he turns into the Beast of the Yellow Night, hunting human flesh. But he can still kind of, he still has his wits about him. Like he kind of feels sorry for himself. His wife wants him, but he's trying to pawn his wife on his brother because he knows what he is. Essentially, there's just a lot of running around the streets of the Philippines, killing some chicks, fighting the cops. The makeup isn't very good, but it's still effective enough. It's okay. It's not that great. It does drag. What I did like about it is we do see a lot of the Beast. We do see a lot of the transformation. And we do see a lot of killing. So for that, I gave this movie 2.5 out of 5. So it's a bit higher than The Beast of Blood. But again, the fun use of military equipment, military blowtorches, torching complete fields for no damn reason other than to smoke the beast out, and villagers watching who may or may not could have gotten hurt during those scenes. And so those probably, I'm sure all that equipment was granted to them by the U.S. government. So there you have it. The Beast of Yellow Night.
Nice.
All right. Cool.
I'd still probably check that out.
Yeah, not bad.
Check that out, sure. Yeah. Next up for me is Dwellers: The Curse of Pastor Stokes from 2019. It's directed by Deshaun Hardy, which I'm not really familiar with at all. Mostly low budget horror stuff. And I absolutely love the idea of this movie. So the whole thought of it is like, the question is that is posed is like, what happens to all the demons that get exorcised by pastors and priests and whatnot? Like, where do they go? And this takes the approach that the ghosts basically attach, or the demons and whatnot attach themselves to the pastor and his church. So they basically constantly haunt him. So he basically bears the burden, for the rest of his life. If you choose to exorcise demons. So I love that idea. Like, that idea to me is solid and awesome. And I absolutely was so excited to watch this, but it really just winds up being pretty slow. Nothing really great happens at all in the film. There's no there's a few little possession scenes, but it's just him going around and then doing the exorcisms, and then the thing following him back and trying to get him. And man, it was just the biggest flippin' disappointment, because I was hoping it was going to be something great, and it really was hard. It really couldn't keep my interest, because and I tried my hardest not to really judge things for budgetary purposes, but I felt like I was taken out of the movie a lot by certain things, and it was just hard to get into, man. But I don't know, maybe at some point I'll go back and watch it again to make sure I just wasn't kind of in a mood, and just didn't feel like watching something like that. But Dwellers, The Curse of Pastor Stokes, I still gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I think it was okay, but I don't know. I just wanted so much more out of it than I actually got. So it was kind of a bummer, but it was still okay. I appreciate there was some effort put in there into the story, so I definitely appreciated that. So that's why I got 2.5 out of 5 from me. And then up next, I have a little flick called Island Zero, which I've seen. It's on every streaming service, so it always pops up. So I've seen the advertisement for it 1,000 times, or the poster for it 1,000 times. So it's fuck it, I will finally sit down and watch this. So Island Zero is from 2018, directed by Josh Garriston, who the only other thing, he directed a film called Magnificent Beasts, and I have no clue what that is, and I'm not going to read about that. So Island Zero is a rural Maine town that is an island in a fishing community, and weird shit basically starts happening on the island. The fish kind of disappear, the crabs disappear, and they're not washing up on shore at all. They're just gone. And there happens to be a marine biologist that's living on the island, and I guess he kind of saw this coming from other studies that he's done, so he kind of anticipated this would be the next spot for this kind of phenomenon or whatever to happen at. So he's there, and when all this stuff starts happening, so he's the island resident expert, right? Everybody starts turning to him when all the shit starts kind of going south. And so, the first step is all the fish and crabs and whatnot go away. So there's limited food. And then the ferry never comes back to the island to deliver any supplies. So then it turns to the natives get a little restless and protective of their food. So there's people fighting on the island now because, they have no idea what's going on and they have limited food. They don't have gas to run the generators. It's wintertime. And so, it's getting a little chaotic. And then eventually we start seeing these cool ass, octopus looking creatures, or basically these things coming out of the water, but you don't actually really get a great look at them because they only show them through an infrared camera. But you do get they rip a dude in half, and there's some pretty okay death scenes in it. And they leave this weird blue ashy stuff on you when they kill you, and it's just because they're I don't know, they're super cold-blooded, but they're out in the winter time up there, which is not a thing. So in theory these creatures should be hibernating, but it has a Thing vibe going on, but you never really get a good look at it. You get a couple good deaths. It feels like a sci-fi original film or a Chiller original film. But it has a little bit of charm to it, though. It's I don't know. It just kind of hit the. It could potentially hit that little rainy day, pop something in, little creature feature. Except you don't really get a great creature. It's just kind of okay. But Island Zero is a 2.5 out of 5 overall for me. Like it's just okay. There's nothing like crazy bad about it, but it's also not like incredibly exciting. There's nothing, super duper cool except the lady getting ripped in half was pretty rad. So
cool.
But that was the one big like death scene. So
what'd you give it again?
2.5 out of 5. Just okay. Just there in the middle.
It was all right. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right, Mona, what's your next two?
Let's see. Would I have 2 more left?
Yeah. You have two more left.
Okay, so one was a movie and one was a series because I got sick of watching crappy movies.
Good. Way to switch it up.
So I watched Needful Things because I'd never seen it. And I've never read the book. I thought it was silly, but the reason I watched it because I started watching Castle Rock.
Yeah.
And it's like in the Stephen King universe. It takes place in Maine, Castle Rock, where Shawshank Prison is. And yeah, I really liked it. I watched there's 2 seasons. I watched both of them in 2 days.
Whoa.
Nice.
And I liked it. It helps to be familiar with the Stephen King books. You'll appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. They tie in so much into Castle Rock. Like even little things like the name of the street, or something hanging on the wall. Like there's so many little Easter eggs in Castle Rock. It's really cool.
Yeah, the house. You'll have to read like Needful Things, Salem's Lot, all the short stories connected to Salem's Lot, like One for the Road and Jerusalem's Lot. And then the Gunslinger and all the Dark Tower series. And then I really liked that, was it Annie Wilkes is in it? Misery?
Yeah.
And Lizzie Kaplan, she does a really good job. It's eerie. So I loved it, and I'm giving that one a 5.
Ooh.
Really? So that was kind of like a 2-for-1. You did the Needful Things, but tied it into Castle Rock. There you go.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. See, Xander, we need to do shit like that, bro. Thanks. We're just doing straight minute, but way to switch it up. That's really awesome. So yeah, cool. So Needful Things I remember seeing in the movie theater when way back in the day, but I never visited Castle Rock. But I think I'd be familiar enough with some of Stephen King's stuff, possibly, because I know I've read Cujo. I have read Pet Sematary, and I have read Salem's Lot. So maybe I would be familiar. And I've seen pretty much all of his movies, so I'm sure I probably would be familiar with that. So, all right, man. So off to my last 2. So this will be my 7 and 8. And we're breaking into the year of 1972. And I ended up watching for 1972's 3 on a Meat Hook. Have any of you ever seen this movie?
I've heard about it, but I've never seen it.
So the only thing I remember about 3 on a Meat Hook is back in the day on Killer Reviews. Mm-hmm. Butcher and Gregmo went to some convention in Canada, and Butcher bought that movie, and then was incredibly disappointed about how fucking awful it was, and how what a terrible name it was, because there wasn't enough meat on hooks.
Yeah. I'll go with that. So basically, it's a horror film loosely based on the crimes committed by Ed Gein. So, this would be like a post-Psycho film, and then a few years later, I think you get however many fucking Ed Gein inspired movies. But this is definitely an Ed Gein inspired movie. It seems like this movie was done by a first-time director and first-time actors. Super low budget. They probably used a farmhouse and a lake and some boats and a lot of maybe guerrilla footage. There's some aspects in this, Xander, that remind me a little bit just of the Las Vegas serial killer, of this guy wandering around at night in the city. But digress. So basically, what it is these 4 girls. I'll just put it this way: another movie with beautiful women, 70s, beautiful, beautiful women. Breasts abound in this movie. A lot of breasts. Don't make them like they used to. I'm just going to say it like that. But these 4 girls go on a weekend trip to a lake. They start to have car problems. This guy's like, hey man, come stay at my farmhouse. There's plenty of room. My dad lives there. It's me and my dad. You'll be safe. Thank you. They take him up on it. So this is the 70s, like when everybody were still a little bit free loving and trusting, and we just dude, I'm talking 10 minutes into it, you're getting kills. These chicks get dispatched real quick. And then it's boring for the rest of the movie. And
the old bait and switch.
There's a lot of like, the dad is like, you killed these girls, just get out of here, get your head clear, come back once you don't feel it on your conscience no more. But it turns out that the dad did it because for whatever fucking his wife's telling him to do it, because again, a weird Ed Gein type of story, psycho-ish type of theme to it. But then again, at the last 10 minutes, we get basically more kills, and then we see three on the meat hook, and then that's it. And that's it. And it's not that great. It's a little wacky out there, 70s film for sure. I don't know if you haven't seen it, it's got a notorious name. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I mean, it says positively note the cover of the cover of the movie, or the movie poster, says positively no admittance during the last 10 minutes. So meaning, what does that mean? Like, you just can't come and watch it for the last 10 minutes? I don't understand. Like, because that's where all the action happens, really. I mean, it's not that good, you guys. There's not enough. So definitely like a 2 out of 5, just because there is some pretty damn good gore in it. I will say the gore that you do see is pretty shocking, and there's pretty good blood in it. But a 2 out of 5. I didn't hate it, but I can't necessarily say I'd recommend it. It's not that great. Okay, so on to my next, a Tubi find. A find on Tubi. I did have an original 1972 movie that I picked, and I couldn't find it another. It was taken off the platform between the time I picked all these movies. But again, another 1972 movie, Gargoyles. I don't know if anybody's seen this.
I have seen this.
You've seen it? Oh yeah, when we were talking about Gargoyles Learn How to Read. So this movie, for me, I'm kind of a sucker for TV films, just because it kind of toes that line of like not being really super exploitive, but they usually have the large budgets behind them. So I always find that stuff kind of endearing. Basically, and also what I really liked about this movie is, I mean, damn, this place looks like New Mexico. This place looks like New Mexico. And I did a little bit of research, and this was filmed at Carlsbad Caverns, Mona.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Carlsbad Caverns, New Mexico. So it definitely, like, I was like, there was a scene where there was like this singular storm with a really beautiful sunset and everything else is cool. It's like, that's fucking New Mexico. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else. But yeah, so sure shit, it was New Mexico. So basically, you got a dad who's an anthropologist, and his daughter who's a photographer, and he's putting out a book about like demons and weird ancient artifacts. They end up going to some dude who runs a sideshow attraction, who used to. So he's got a bunch of weird stuff at his place. Uncle Tom, Uncle Jerry, I forget whatever his name is. I'm just kind of going off of memory here. And then he shows him a skeleton of a gargoyle, and then his barn house gets attacked and burnt down, and the dad and his daughter get attacked by gargoyles heading off the dude's property at night. They end up at a side road a hotel, get attacked by gargoyles again. It's a really small town. And then they kind of get some local town biker kids, not biker, but kind of motocross riders, and the cops involved. And essentially the movie does start out with like backstory of how gargoyles are demons and they're part of the devil and they're here on Earth and they come and fight humans every 200 to 400 years to try to take over Earth. And basically it's up to this ragtag of individuals. They kidnap the girl, take her to the mountains in a cave. They want to teach her. She's trying to teach them how to read the Bible. One of the gargoyles is played by Bernie Casey. If you go deep with Revenge of the Nerds, he's the head of the Black Sigma outfit, or Lambda outfit, smoking weed, listening to Thriller. But anyways, it's a made-for-TV film. The gargoyles, I thought, looked really cool, in my opinion. I thought they moved like kind of ape-ish. I thought the actors were pretty acrobatic. I thought the outfits were cool. I thought the masks were cool. I thoroughly enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I'm going to say I gave it a 4 out of 5. So I thought it was fun as fuck for a creature feature. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the side road desert town. The lighting was great. It had a high budget. The gargoyles are really fucking cool looking in my opinion. So for me, man, first time watch, 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I believe I gave that a 3.5 out of 5 on my Letterboxd when I saw it too. I can't remember where I watched it though, but I remember being like, "What the fuck is this?"
I remember I think it was just on TV, and I just started watching it.
It's fun, man. All right, man. We're gonna wrap it up with your last two, Mr. Xander.
Okay. So I delve into some Hammer horror, which when 1974's Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. God, why can't I get that? So this is the last of the Peter Cushing playing Baron Frankenstein films from Hammer. He's basically held up in an insane asylum, so he can kind of conduct his experiments there. And he's basically with another guy who is in jail for doing the same thing. But it builds. It builds just like every other Hammer film. Like, either you're kind of into Hammer or you're not into Hammer. Like, it's the slow build of the story. So the first 35 to 40 minutes, you're just kind of building up to the payoff. And this one actually pays off pretty good. It's actually, I would say, probably it's a little more violent than some of the other ones when it comes down to the end. But they wind up reanimating this giant, hairy, monster-looking thing. It doesn't really look human at all, or it's not supposed to look too human at all, and it's just, it's your typical, oh no, we must kill the beast, blah blah blah. The same old Frankenstein schlock. I mean, they're not really reinventing the wheel here with the Frankenstein movies at this point, because I think it's the 5th one in the series. But surprisingly violent for, like, I read that on one of my friend's Letterboxd things. I did was surprisingly violent, so I stole that quote. That wasn't me. But it's okay. It's pretty okay for a finale of the series, I guess. It's a 3 out of 5 for me. If you're into the Peter Cushing Frankenstein thing, it's definitely worth watching it to complete it out. But it's gonna be you're slow. Music is still good. Peter Cushing's great. The monster's good, and it's a little more violent than some of the others. So, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell is a 3.5 out of 5 for me. I thought it was pretty good. But, there's just something about that I think those movies are quite charming, in my opinion. So I don't know if you guys are into any of the Hammer films or not.
Yeah, I like the Hammer films.
Yeah.
They're hit and miss for me, too.
Absolutely. Some of them are, painstakingly slow. I still do think Frankenstein Created Woman is the best of the Peter Cushing Frankenstein films. But this one's pretty good. I would put this one probably 2nd or 3rd, actually, in that series. So, but yeah, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, 3.5 out of 5. Boom. And my last one, this will probably be short because I did not like this movie at all, is 2004's Riding the Bullet, based off of Stephen King's story and directed by Mick Garris, which is shocking that Mick Garris did it, because he's done some great stuff in his life, and this is not one of them. So it's so it kind of plays out like those Stephen King like TV. I don't know if this was on TV first. Was this a TV movie? Does anybody know?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was, and it totally feels that way. It has that whole '90s TV vibe, even though it was 2004. But it's about this kid finds out his mom is like sick and dying of cancer, and the whole movie is basically him trying to hitchhike his way back to see her before she passes away. And then it's basically ghosts popping up in and out, and the whole time, like he has like not a split personality, but he's talking to his conscious. So there's like two of them. There's like him in real time, and then him in his brain, like in the same scene a lot of the times. So when he starts to figure stuff out, like his brain character will start talking to him, and it just, I don't know, it's just not that exciting at all, and it's just back and forth and like time and his conscience and not his conscience, and it's just, you feel like it's building slow for this like great amazing reveal, but it just doesn't get anywhere. And he eventually gets to his mom, but nothing really all that exciting. Very incredibly boring. Has David Arquette in it. That's about the highlight of it. And it does have Barbara Hershey in it from The Entity, so yeah, that's about it. But boring as crap. I would say skip Riding the Bullet, even if you're a Stephen King completionist.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty awful.
Yeah, there's just
really
nothing.
Awful.
It's just nothing happens. It's not like, it's not really all that interesting. And I don't know. It did not drag me in for like a second. I was almost bored.
Nope.
I was bored with it within the first 15 minutes. I was like, okay, I think I'm done with this. And then to the point where I was like, maybe I should watch something else. And I was like, no, we'll ride this one out. And then at that point, you just start picking movies apart, right? When you're like, when you're not into it. So I just felt like I picked it apart, and it was not my thing. And it is a 1.5 out of 5 for me. Riding the Bullet is completely skippable. Hard pass.
All right, man. Well, there you have it, guys. 24 movies in an hour and 45 minutes, just about. So, we did it. Or we'll say 23 movies, because me and Mona tag teamed on one. And
but she did 2 seasons of a TV show. What did you do?
I don't know how you did that, girl, but good job.
From dawn till dusk.
She just didn't sleep.
She didn't sleep.
What is there? 8 episodes each on those, Mona? Or 10?
There's 10.
Okay, so it's 20 episodes. All right.
Just powered through that shit. Damn. I'd be like, Anyways. All right, guys. We'll probably see you next week, I hope. In a week.
We should. I'm halfway through next week's movies.
Shit, I gotta get started. I gotta get started. So, Mona, if you'd like to join us next week, you're more than welcome to.
Gonna find better movies.
Yeah, well, just maybe, maybe I'll shoot you my list and we can do them together. How about that? I think that would help.
Okay.
Maybe we could do that. I don't know. Maybe it'd be fun. Something different.
If you want to watch some Barry Romero films or whatever.
Well, I got some. Well, might hit the.
Are you done with 1972?
I am.
Oh.
No. I am. I have one more. Tombs of the Blind Dead, Mr. Xander Kane.
Oh, okay. That should be good. I was going to suggest Night of the Cobra Woman for you, because that's a awesome one from 72. So I think it's 72.
I think, yeah, I will be hitting up the next 3 Tombs of the Blind Dead films in our next outing.
Well, that's fucking exciting, because I love those movies, and I'm excited to hear what you think about those.
I've never seen them, so maybe Mona, I'll shoot this list to you. All right?
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we can do that together. All right, guys. So we will see you next week, next episode, for another 24 goddamn fucking 31 days of Halloween challenge. So, good night.
Good night. Yeah. Thanks for listening to our nonsensical spouts. Ba-doop.
Yep. Good night, Mona.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
You've been listening listening to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Android Virus and Xander Kane. Follow us on Twitter, @AndroidVirus, @Xander_Kane, and @CemeteryGates66.